Hi there, it's Paul at Loft 47, and today we're going to look at how to generate an invoice in Xero for someone who owes you money or owes the brokerage money. You can go over to the Invoices section on this right hand side. So you'll see here we're in the main dashboard. We've got Invoices on this right hand side, and then the next panel down below is the bills that you need to pay. So this is money owed to the brokerage. This is money that you need to pay out, or bills you need to pay out. So what we're going to do is, I always access this way. You can go in by clicking on this little link here that says to awaiting payment. There's also, you can go through business and you can go to invoices. There's a section for bills. So there's a couple of ways to get into your invoices and your bills. I just tend to click on this little link here. It doesn't look like a clickable link at first, but it is. If you hover over it, you see that it becomes a clickable link. I'm going to go ahead and click that button. So you can see here now within the brokerage a list of the invoices that we've already got set up. So top left hand side here you'll see new invoice, but it is a little arrow next to it. So click on that little arrow and you're going to see a couple of options: new invoice, new repeating invoice. You can also do group invoices as well to multiple parties, but you can see individual invoice, repeating invoice. So you'd use new invoice if you were just generating a single invoice for a party, whether it be an agent, somebody else that owes the brokerage money. You can invoice them. You can generate one invoice on the fly. But if you have someone that pays you monthly, for example your agents, if your agents pay things like desk fees and monthly items, they may pay franchise items, things like that, that you need to invoice them for each month, then you would go to the repeating invoice option. So you can see here, before I go into the repeating invoice area, you can see there's a few tabs. You've got all, draft, awaiting approval, awaiting payment, paid, and repeating. So I'm going to click on repeating because these are the repeating templates that we've set up so far. And you can see our agent Margaret, we've set a repeating template up for her, and I'm going to click onto it. And this is how it looks when you create a repeating template. It will ask you how often you want this invoice to repeat, how often you want it to be generated. So once a month, Xero will create this invoice once a month, and the next invoice date will be September the 1st. The due date for this invoice, so it's due 5 days after the invoice. You can adjust this, there's various different options. You can have it the following month, the current month, whatever you need it to be. There's then the option of an end date, which is very rare. If you're charging something on a monthly basis, you probably won't have an end date. But if something does come to an end, then you can add an end date so the system no longer generates this invoice at a certain date. And then there are three options down below here. You've got save as a draft, approve, and approve for sending. So these are very important because if you select save as a draft, all that will happen is this repeating invoice template is a draft. It's not going to generate an actual invoice. Nothing much is going to happen with it. It's just a draft that you're currently working on. If you go ahead and select the approve option, what will happen is the system, Xero, will generate an invoice. So the next one is September the 1st. So it will generate an invoice. It will be an approved invoice. You can still edit the invoice and add items to it if you wish to, but this will not be sent to your agent automatically. It means the approved invoice will just sit there in the awaiting payment area of your invoices, but it will not be sent to the agent. If you click the approve for sending option, then an invoice will be generated. The difference is this will mean it's also going to be sent to the agent. So if the agent owes you money and you know the set amount each month, then that might be a good option because you don't have to do anything manually. If you select the approve option, you still have to manually send the invoice when the time comes, because you want to review it and then send it out. If you know that the agent has a set amount, let's say it's $500 every month, you can approve it for sending, and the system will generate the invoice and it will send the invoice to them on the same day each month. So let's take a look at the body of the invoice. So on the body of the invoice here, you can see we've got the invoice to. So this is the agent or the party that you're invoicing. You can put a reference on. So the usual reference for this is you would click on here, you would insert a placeholder. The usual one for a monthly repeating invoice would be this one, month, year. You'll select the bottom one. And what that means is the system is going to automatically, so I'd remove that and I'd just have the month, year on the invoice. So you can see here, every time this is generated, the month and the year will be pulled through and automatically added to the invoice. Branding, you can just have standard. You don't need to adjust that unless, of course, you've created any unique branding. And then down on the body of the invoice itself, this is where you can select items. So if I hit add new line item, you can see I've already got the desk fee in here. But if I click on the little arrow, it's going to open up all of our pre-built items that we created within our products and services. So every brokerage, remember, has products and services within the business section. And this area here, products and services, this is where you can set up a list of all of your chargeable items and you can assign a cost price to them. So that's going to save you a ton of time when it comes to creating the invoice, because you can simply click on this and you can select the item that you need to. If it was franchise dues, and if you had a price associated to it, it would pop up. This one doesn't, but you can also edit as well as you wish to. If there was 4 lots of this, for example, you'll see the invoice will recalculate. So once you've added all your line items and you've created your repeating template, you can come over, hit the save button down here. I won't hit the save button for this one because I don't want to change it, but this is where the repeating template will then sit. So you'll see it's setting repeating. Each time the invoice date comes around, the system will generate an invoice, and that invoice is going to appear in this awaiting payment area. So you can see here Margaret's desk fee invoice for July. She had another one for August. The one we just looked at a moment ago, the repeating template, that will generate September the 1st. So you can see each month the system is generating an invoice to Margaret, our agent. So there we go. That's how you set up repeating invoices. But if you do want to set up an invoice on the fly as well, if you just want to do a new invoice, you can always hit the new invoice button here. And you can just set a one-off invoice. Exactly the same principle. Who are you invoicing? The date of the invoice, the due date, invoice number, again reference, and you can add your items. Difference is if you just do a straight invoice like this, it won't repeat each month. It's simply going to be a one-off invoice. So just be aware of the differences between those two items. You've got new invoice, new repeating invoice. So there you go, guys. There's a quick video on how to create invoices and repeating invoices in the Xero platform. Thanks for watching.